Oh, really? I didn't do
Why,
anything.
why not have to change?
Oh, I didn't do anything on this.
Zuma pricks, mate, obviously.
um, oh, I've got got a bit of a cold coming down as
Bit
well.
of a lurgy, eh?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so let's first talk about the FTSE. Interesting. The FTSE has already started to ease down. Now this is exactly what I said wasn't going to happen, and this is really what I was talking about with you the other day, wasn't it? There's no point in kind of getting all excited about a few good trades because things can just very very soon turn around, and all of a sudden you're kind of on the wrong side of things again.
It's funny, when you finally realise that the market isn't actually made for you or
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, well, it hasn't been made for me today. So I have got some longs in the market actually, but I've also got a short on just to hedge the negative positions. And normally I would be quite happy to put my hedge. My hedge is just under this bar, and I'll be happy to kind of put a stop at break even on that one. But I don't particularly like what I'm hearing around the world about the just general trade right now, because what I'd want to do is obviously I'm long. I think from this point, I've got a few longs up here as well, and the hedge is just under this bar. So my idea would normally be if it starts to drops far enough, put the hedge at break even, and then it pops back up again and takes out the hedge at break even, and you're off. But my big issue is that I think the market is just a bit heavy and negative. I mean, I don't know
What are
if
you
you've.
hearing, mate? What's
Well,
going
the,
on?
the headlines haven't been great. So we've got protests in Hong Kong, which have driven Asian markets to the downside. On
Yeah, they
Friday,
shot a guy there as well.
I think there was two, wasn't there?
Oh, okay, too.
I
Yeah,
might have got that
I saw
wrong
one.
because subsequently I think I've heard one, but I thought when I first heard it, it was two. But I think it was just a bit of a surprise that they were rioting at all. So those things are kind of rearing its head. I don't think that was necessarily a driver. I think the problem is that on Friday we had Donald Trump coming out and saying that there was no agreement signed with China, and that did push the market down. But the reason that I didn't think that that was going to have any kind of long-lasting effect was that this bar here, this red bar here was that announcement, but then the subsequent 15-minute bar bounced and bounced. So it started to move back to the upside, which is why I thought a long in the market would be absolutely fine, and that's what I took on. But subsequently, we gapped down this morning, and we kind of gap and go. I don't see this gap being closed today. I've got to be honest. So, in some respects, any retracement, I'm really looking for more shorts in the market. So I'll probably add to my position short. I'll leave the longs on the table for right now, but I'll probably add to my position short rather than looking at the long. Until I will look at a long if or when we get down to the trend line. There's a couple of spots I'm interested in. I'm interested in this trend line here. I quite like. Love the
Mm-hmm.
touches, love the
Yep.
bounces.
Nice.
We're not quite there yet, so just a little bit further down, and I wouldn't mind buying up again, and then I'll put those stops to break even. Um, there's possibly a little bit lower, which is going to get a bit interesting if it was to break lower, because if it does break lower, I'm still interested in the long, but I think my long position will change its idea, and what I'd then be looking for is a breakdown of this level to look for a long along here, and then look to basically try and get out around about that point and see if that was to happen. So a breakdown of the level would much more likely suggest that we're going to get a retest of this line from below. So I'm interested in buying it from above, but if it breaks down, then I'll be interested in buying it here just so I can kind of clear any positions and get out to the downside. So the FTSE 100 has just opened up, and it's going to be interesting to see the early doors price action. I would suggest for anybody interested, if it pops up, then you're looking for downside. If it pops down, you're probably looking to wait. As I say, this is unexpected. I have to hold my hands up and say that well, maybe it hasn't quite done what I thought it wouldn't do just yet. But what I was looking for was a little bit of sideways consolidation. But I was looking for sideways consolidation in this area. Now it's popped down. Maybe that sideways consolidation happens just a little bit lower, which I'm okay with. But I'm interested in down here, mate. I'm just interested in seeing what gives down here. This looks to me like it's going to give way, and it looks to me like it's going to give way right the way down to the trend line. Anybody want to go short? I think there's a nice little scalp on there. I don't think that's the worst thing in the world, but I'm not sure where you'd be putting stops. You know, you'd have to get pretty much in and out. So yeah, let's check this price, mate. If it goes through this price, my reactions and my analysis will change. I might just put stops at break even on the bounce, but not enter. So I've got a few different connotations. You know, if I put one position in here, then that won't be the worst thing in the world if it breaks down, because I can just add just take a short position if it breaks down. But I just don't see why it would bounce, if I'm honest, mate. So it's a bit concerning, but I'd like to see what happens at this price level right now.
All right, mate. Happy days. It is of course, a bank holiday in the US today. Traditionally, one of those days where I just don't trade at all, for reasons that I really don't know. Have got no idea what the market will do. There's generally not a great selection of traders in the market come that time. But even so, you know, I think the first hour or so of London will be it. I don't know that we're going to see too much more after this. So, you know, if I can't find anything very quickly, then I'll probably be looking to watch whatever's on television later on, to be fair. That's how desperate I'm in.
Well, I think that's fair, mate. I think that's fair. I don't know why you would force yourself in if you don't need to.
No, look, we had some decent news when we closed on Thursday. I was in a little bit of a sticky situation on a couple of positions that I'd taken. Euro dollar short and euro pound long were the two that were in trouble, having lost that Aussie dollar trade, the second of the Aussie dollar trades of the week. Bounced back from that, and we're now in good position on both of those trades. So happy to announce that the week ended on a positive note.
Well done, mate. Well done.
So if you've got no more, I'll have a look at those. Shall I?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Do you know the one thing that I was going to say? Yeah, go ahead and have a look at those. One thing I was going to say as well is that we should probably look at the Euro Aussie as well at some point. I'm quite interested in Euro Aussie for a long.
Okay, I will take screen. Hopefully not kicking you out. That'll be good. All right, there we go. As I said, on Thursday, we got a little bit of strife on this one. This was, again, the result of, and you were just talking about how Donald had said that there were nothing immediate coming up in the trade wars talks. Well, on Wednesday, I think it was, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Thursday, exactly the opposite happened, of course, where everything was hunky-dory and we were getting nice chances of resolutions and all the rest of it. And that's what sent this market up to here. Fortunately, our stop loss was up above that swing, which was the right place to have it, of course. And now we've come down and we've taken two lots of profit here, actually. So there can't be any losing on this particular trade. I'm actually hopeful. We had a fairly lengthy discussion on the Euro, the Aussie, and the fact that they were all looking oversold. I actually don't see that, to be fair, at this point. What I would see is if we get down to this level here, maybe there's an opportunity for this to turn around. I actually don't see that yet. Rather, what I saw was a breakdown of a structure, which was the consolidation pattern above the breakout, if you like. And now we've broken back underneath that breakout. To me, that's a bear sign. And more than happy, as I said on Wednesday or Thursday, whenever we place this trade, that there could be a nice result down to this level. And that's my target. You're down around about the 109.20 level, something like that, as I recall. So there's another 100 pips in this if we can hang on and we don't go into trend here in the opposite direction. And I know there's a case for that. If you have a look at the smaller time frames, where you will see that we did go into a bull rally, but again, you know, it's been erased for mine, and that's the premise that we entered this on, where we'd broken down the bottom of the rectangle or the consolidation pattern. We'd also got below the monthly pivot, retested that, and that was our trigger to enter. So I'm still hopeful on this one, and I think we can get down to at least here, and if that's the case, I'll reassess things. But at this moment, I've got 1/3 of the position left open, and hopefully that will go on with the job. Again, I can't see anything today that will turn that around, but in fact, we didn't have a look at what was happening this week. We might, if we get a chance, we'll have a look at that. But again, not that interested in the market today, given that it is a bank holiday in the US. Now, this was the one that we took, and as I said at the time, I thought this was a far better trade than euro dollar. And unfortunately, the stops got hit on this one as a result of that Brexit, not Brexit, the Brexit on my brain. The trade wars scenario that unfolded or didn't unfold as you kind of get this once a week now, where it's on and next breath it's off and all the rest of it. This is exactly the same trade as the euro, but as I said, I thought it was better because we'd already got through this former swing high. I couldn't get back into this. There's no way I could find a re-entry. That yes, there was another lower high here based on this high, but I just don't see any way I could have got back into this, unfortunately. There is, of course, a school of thought that, and I think I said this last week as well, this looks like the Three Little Indians to me, but it's now getting a little bit long in the tooth. The Three Little Indians for me are when we get successive 3 in a row, false breaks of a structure, this being the structure, but maybe this is the structure now, the channel, the descending channel. We've now had one false break. Maybe we're getting a second false break here. Maybe. I don't see that as yet. Again, I'd like to see the daily pivot and the bottom of this this channel tested, and I think that's probably a good scale in point, if anything, to trade back down to here. Monthly pivot's obvious first target. Hi, Lewis, how you doing, buddy? And then I see plenty of space under here, to be fair. We are in who knows territory at the moment, but I see a structure breaking down, so therefore I have to trade that.
Just very quickly, mate, I've taken a little buy in I've taken a trade in the FTSE long. I've put stops at break even on the shorts, and I've taken a trade in the FTSE long. I can quickly show you if you like.
Yeah, mate, of course.
Okay, so there's just been a half decent bounce here, so I've just put a long in the market. I could bring my my trade levels up, but I don't think that's really that important. Stops are going to be at the lows. You know, I quite like the fact that it's gone through, so I'm just looking to see whether that bounce, but you know, now promotes itself to the upside. Stops are at a break even on the short, and I've taken a long in this area. So if I get a little bit of upside, then it's possible that that we get going from here. But if not, no big deal. We're going to put stops at the stops, or you know, the way I trade it is different. But for you guys, you know, if you don't understand the hedging principles, then it'd be a stop order at the low. So yeah, long FTSE 100 and stopped at the lows, and then we just have to see how it develops. It's not really kind of like a target thing. You know, the whole thing with the FTSE is that we are in an uptrend. So I'm just seeing whether we can continue that uptrend, and maybe you know, the news and what we've had over the weekend has just given us a slightly better price to enter on. But it could be a bit more sinister, which is why those stops need to be in place. But let's just see if this can develop into a bounce. So that is, mate, that,
how do you find trading the FTSE on a US bank holiday? Do you pack up after the first couple of hours of London, or do you
know? I mean, that's a really good point. And yes, I think I would. To be honest, it's still always going to be about levels for me. If the level kind of gets seen and hit, then I'll trade it, kind of regardless of what's going on. But the lack of volume in the afternoon could be a little bit tricky, but I've got at least until 2:30 UK time before I need to be too concerned about that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Very good. I see, and I'm just having a look at the Forex Factory at the moment. We might come back to that. What time is it? I don't tend to hang around too long, I've got to say today, mate, because of that.
No, I'm the same, mate. I'm gonna manage this trade, put some orders in, and then I've got to just let it go because I don't really want to be watching a trade, price action like it is, to be quite honest.
Cool. Okay. I will then take the screen back. And we will have a look at the Forex Factory just very, very briefly. Except I've just lost the bloody thing. Here it is. It's here somewhere. Forex Factory. That's not it. I have lost it. I've got 100 different screens I'm looking at, and I can't find what I'm looking for. Well, I'll talk about it, shall I?
I can. Do you want me to bring it up? I just quickly. Yeah, do you want me to bring it up? In fact, let me.
Yeah.
I will manage these, and then I will. I'll quickly bring it up for you. Hold on.
You manage that. I'll keep talking about the Aussie, and then when we're finished that, you can come back and show us.
Great stuff.
All right, so Aussie, yeah, look, same. Just looking for that to probably today maybe hit the daily pivot in the bottom of this channel and then look to continue south. I seem to be the only one that has that opinion, which is interesting. This is Euro Pound, the other trade that we were in from last week. Again, I've only taken 2 very small profits on this. TP1 was hit, that was fine. But I took TP2, I think at about +3 or something like that when this bar came back. And on Friday, I just couldn't see any point in staying at risk over the weekend. So we took a second profit. So this can only be a winning trade as well. Stop loss nearly got hit there on Friday by the looks of things. Let me take a look closer at that. But you can see that this range just continues to linger. And that's not a bad thing. I don't mind that at all. What is, of course, a little bit disturbing is that we haven't been able to find another bounce here yet. But we do have, well, I guess we did in that bar on Friday. I'm looking for this to break up to the higher side again and put us into a better position. But really what I'm after is the breakout of this area here, which actually will be on the bigger picture. My goodness, there's a low-flying jet going past. Why is it doing that? So I'm looking for the breakout of the top of this rectangle, this inner rectangle, so that we can go to the top of the bigger rectangle. And though we haven't got a lot left in this trade, only a third of the position that we took, if we can get through here and then retest that area, I'll definitely add to the position. But now that we're free trading, which is cool, I actually like that position. Because if we're right here, we could get a very, very good ride through the top here at no risk, and that's pretty cool. That's what we're looking to do. So breakout here, retest, enter again long. That's what I'm looking for in Euro Pound. Cable. Yeah, look, cable's pretty hard to catch, as you know, at this moment. I think I'm just happy to stay in the position where I think the euro can outpace the pound in the next little bit, and that's the way I'll trade the pound. Am I long-term bearish? No, but it's very, very tricky to get into this cross at the moment, in my humble opinion, so I'm staying out. So really, that's where I'm at. I'm still with the 2 trades that I'm in. The Aussie I'd like to get back into short until we hit a nice support level, and then I may look for a turnaround. But let's go with Euro Aussie. Ash wanted to have a look at it.
Yeah, let's have a look at that. Yeah, so I'm just I've got a new account that I'm I'm trying to understand how it all works. I used to, because I've got obviously I'm managing, not obviously, but I'm managing 3 separate accounts, and one of them is my own account, and I've switched provider because they don't offer futures, which cost me in swaps, and that sticks in my throat. So I So I've gone to a new provider, and it takes me a little while to kind of navigate around it. I think I've got it all sorted though, mate. I think I'm done.
Cool. Well, from my point of view, Euro Aussie is inside a structure, the bottom of which is very, very difficult to find on this chart for mine. And that's the thing I'm struggling with. I think I had it about here somewhere in this vicinity. It's pretty tight if I leave it there, and probably I need to go back up to these shoulders, if you like, if we're considering that to be a head and shoulders. I don't see why we wouldn't, to be fair. It's kind of there. I need to take a bigger picture thing here.
Yeah, I like the long with this one.
Yeah, I'm having a look now. I can see your cyclicities there. I don't see a lower low yet. I've got equal highs. It's not a pretty picture for mine, Ash, at the moment. I don't see a direction here, to be fair. What I do see is that range that I've got on my chart. And for that reason, I'm looking to trade long back up here.
Yeah, I'm also along on this, but I'll tell you what my thinking with it is. And you know, this is where I'll need to lean on you a little bit, but to my knowledge, I mean, I was obviously, you know, using some of the tools that we've now discovered. I've got the seasonalities and I've got the COT data. The seasonality suggests a euro positive month coming up with a bit of Aussie weakness, you know, against the Aussie effectively. Euro is down against the dollar, but it will be up against the Aussie. But my thinking with it is more the Lagarde factor. Will Christine Lagarde play a part in giving this euro a bit of a boost this month? You know, she's got quite a keynote speech. Is it a week Thursday? I think we get something from the ECB, and I think that may play a part.
Mate, I'm using exactly the same thought process on euro pound.
Yeah,
exactly the same. We've got ECB monetary policy meeting accounts on Thursday week. On Wednesday week, we've got nothing on Tuesday. It'll be a Thursday or a Wednesday. It always is. I don't see it, mate.
No?
No, don't see it.
Interesting. You don't see the speech announcement?
No.
Okay, let's have a look. Maybe I was wrong on that. I thought it was a week Thursday.
Well, it has to be soon.
Yeah, so we got nothing there. Oh gosh, and you know, when we think about what's going on with China as well, some of those data points seem pretty bad. Wage inflation index. Interesting on Wednesday, mate. The wage price index quarter on quarter. I think you know, given what we know about the way Orlando views the market, that wage price index could play a new part in the way we analyze a currency. So I quite like the you know, to have a look at that. Then we got the Fed. Employment rate, there we go. So on Thursday we get the employment change from Australia. So I think those two metrics could actually be quite key to see whether we are getting ready for some weakness in the Aussie. Now, when it comes down to the euro, what's going to potentially boost it up? I'm just checking for next week. Nothing there. 30-year bond, no. Oh, ECB monetary policy meetings accounts. Now that's what I was looking at. Thursday the 21st. It's a detailed record of the ECB's governing board's most recent meeting, provide in-depth insights into economic conditions that influence their decision on where to set interest rates. Now I wonder whether Lagarde might play a bit of a part in that.
Well, she might poo-poo it because she wasn't in that meeting. I wouldn't have thought. That would have been Draghi's last meeting. I would have thought maybe she was. I don't know.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yes. Yeah, you might be right. I mean, it's going to be interesting because I think she's going to get going straight away. I think she could have quite an impact on the euro almost instantly.
Yeah, look, I agree. And again, that's why I've got this position on euro pound. It's very tenuous at the moment, but if we can get that break, I think I'll be happy with that. So you're looking the same here.
Yes, I am, mate. I am, and I think
Do you
those
see a way
numbers.
in?
I mean, can I see a way in? I suppose on the neckline, it would be the area that I'd quite like it. 9th of May, I see is a low around about the 9th of May. There's a black candle, which might just extrapolate through. Yeah, let's have a look. So that one there, yeah, does that go along? A bit lower. Down
Yep.
there, yeah. So, if it comes down to that point, that's going to be a sweet spot in my opinion, because that's going to be right on the neckline, and will be a good place to at least look for a bounce, and then see if the data can actually help the bounce out. Oh yeah, that's good too, actually. Yeah, you see, that might be the level, mightn't it?
We may be there, and that's the level I'd picked out as the bottom of the range. So I think if we got
Yeah.
above that and came back and back tested that, especially with the weekly pivot there, that might be a decent level.
I like that. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, that could be it, mate. You might be right on that. I mean, I'd like to see how that establishes itself. I suppose, maybe the idea with that one is that if it comes down to the first level that you've pointed out, then going in half of what would be the whole trade at that point, and
Yeah.
then if it does break down, add the other half, and if it goes up, add the other half. I think that might be the idea with that.
You've got there's 1.5 to 1 to there if you put your stops really safe. But if you want to be a little bit bolder than that, then you've probably got 3 to 1, 3.5, 4 to 1 by the time you get back to the shoulders.
Yeah, and there's every chance it'll go through, because that will start to break the structure depending on how long it takes to get back up there. That could break the structure of that right shoulder. It's going to start looking a little bit uneven. So that may well be the trade there.
All right, we've got a plan then.
There's a plan with that one. Yeah. Now whether I trade it, I don't know. And this is where would you trade the Euro Aussie?
Sure, no problem.
Okay, brilliant. Well,
I'm an Aussie bear and have been for a while.
Yeah.
But I know there's a very strong school of thought that's got these crosses oversold at the moment. I actually don't see that. I don't see that at all, to be fair. I do see the structure that suggests that this is now in a bull trend, the Aussie. But I can also see we've just come off a resistance level. So, it's inconclusive yet for me as to which way we're going.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm on the basis of going to the weekly chart. We're back underneath this now broken trend line. So there's one of two ways to look at this for me. And there's a potential entry there long for me, targeting this area, if I am to trade the weekly chart. But I like the fact that we've come back underneath here. I think this has been a fairly substantial trend back in 1 year ago. We're going back 1 year. And we've been unable to break that. That was the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th attempt to do so. Why do I think now is the time? I don't know. I can't answer that question.
Yeah.
I can't give you the dollar's about to crash and the Aussie's about to rally. I don't see a reason for the Aussie to rally.
Yeah.
I think the economy is not ticking along that badly, and really the property market seems to be picking up as well.
Right.
They're all talking that up at the moment. So there is a little bit of positivity around that sector. But I don't see anything outstanding outside of that, to be fair. And I don't see that the RBA is going to raise interest rates anytime soon. So why the Aussie would rally against the dollar unless the dollar just falls out of the sky, and I can't see why that would happen either, then I don't see the Aussie going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, mate. Well, that is pretty much
the euro, yes, for the reasons we've just discussed. And I guess that's a bit of a punt, really, isn't it? To pin our hopes on this, what I shouldn't say, skirt tails of the new ECB president. But I'm absolutely of the same opinion you are. I think she can only be good.
Yeah, and you know, the other aspect of this is that because that the Aussie data happens before the maybe the first time we see Lagarde, I wonder whether there could still be some kind of buying into the speech, regardless of before she actually says anything.
Yes, yes.
If the Aussie data was to match it, so I'm looking really to see this week what the Australian data is like, and if it's fairly poor, then I think an Euro Aussie long could be the trade.
Mate, just one thing before we do go. The new breakout trade that we're trying to master here, right?
Yeah.
I just want to get the guys on board, the guys that are in the room with us often, to get the guys on board to watch out for these and point them out if they do spring up, because I don't, as you know, I don't watch every cross, but I think it's applicable to any cross. So what we're looking for is a definite consolidation period. 30-minute chart's great. This chart even better. This is the daily chart on Euro Pound that I spoke about. If something were to break out of here with a decisive bar, that if I can find one that looked like that, right? So there's a range in here. So we break out of that range with this bar. What we're looking to do is trade long above that bar, right? But we also want a system that tells us to trade short somewhere below this bar. And that's the trick for me. Where's the safe way to get into this short? Because what we don't want to happen is we don't want to be taken into a false break. And this could well have been a false break. What we want to trade the false break. We want to trade the false break with the break of the top of the candle. But what we don't want is for this just to trigger us in by 1 or 2 pips and then reverse, and we're in both trades. We don't want that.
How about? I've got an idea. I've got an idea. This might be a bit Bitcoin, which didn't work out in Bali, by the way.
Didn't it?
No.
Okay.
No. Actually, I don't know. I'm pretty sure. Well, it definitely didn't make any money. Whether it lost, I don't know. Let me just see.
Aren't we up in the 9s again?
No, we're down in the 8s.
Oh, are we? It's had a little bit of a...
Oh, yeah, no, that one lost. Yeah, that one definitely lost. Oh, all right, maybe our strategies...
on that one.
Maybe it's back to the drawing board, yeah. It could be that our strategy is actually the flip of what we thought it was. Maybe we should trade the close the gap rather than the gap and go.
Well, that's what we need to work out. That's why we haven't adopted it as a strategy after one test.
No, and we never will, because I don't think either of us are the slightest bit interested in trading Bitcoin.
No.
Somebody asked me the other day about Bitcoin. I told them that I was an investor and trader, and they said, would you look at? And I said, well, mainly the FTSE 100, but I do check out the currencies as well because of the pound. And he said, oh, what about cryptocurrencies? And I was like, nah, witchcraft. not interested in getting caught in that one. I don't know whether I'm just a bit thick, Jeff. I don't know. I just don't think I can handle it. You know, it's all a bit fangled for me. It's all a bit kind of modern wave and new wave for me.
I think for me, the time I've invested, and I guess in the early days, the money I've invested in learning how to trade currencies, I don't really want to go through again with a whole new system.
No. I mean, the other thing is,
trade it, you need to understand it, and I have got no understanding of it at all.
Do you know the first lesson I learned was to trade nothing that was less than 5 years old, and I think that's the other thing for me. It's just it's just not old. It's just not been around long enough for my mind. It's been around a little bit longer than 5 years, but it's still just too new for me. Right. Anyway, what was I going to say? Yeah, FTSE 100 getting a little bit of a boost. So anybody that's gone long on that low, then great price you guys have got there. I am also long with you, but my particular situation is probably slightly different. You should be making money, whereas I'm looking to balance my books, which is slightly a slightly different approach. Anyway, where were we, mate? We were looking at what? We were looking
at breakouts, mate. Looking at trading the breakouts.
So, what I think would be quite good is to look at the breakout. So if you could mark that bar off. Yeah, that bar there. Yes. Could you put a line down it? So it's the daily. We want the daily chart. Now that I was thinking, the next day, what we would want. Now that maybe this is where we could get some fib points in. What I'd quite like to see is a fib test of the body, not of the range, but of the body of that particular daily bar.
Okay, fib test of the body of that daily bar.
Yes.
So going from high to low, low to high.
Yeah, high to low if it's a bear bar. Just the body. Now, I think if that fib test comes into play, then that's the point that the order is placed still under the bar. You're not trying to enter a fib. You still place the order under the bar, but it's key that that there's a test within the body. It's got to test within the body, and it's got to hit a fib.
You've lost me. Where have we got to go from here?
So that's right. You've got your so you've gone from the top of the body to the bottom of the body of the actual bar, the breakout bar that we're talking about. Yeah, which is perfect. That's exactly where you got it. Now the next day, what we want to see is it go up and test within a fib level of the body. The first, second doesn't matter, but as long as it's tested, as long as it's hit a fib level, and as soon as it hits the fib level, we put an order under the original bar that we were doing the range on.
Okay, and if we don't get that, we miss the trade.
We missed the trade, yes, but I would think that might keep us safe. It's just maybe adding one stipulation to say, will this keep us safer so we don't get those false breakouts? Because that way, if it tests and goes, we don't get taken in. If it doesn't test, we don't get taken in. That's fine. But if it tests and comes back down again, we might have a better chance of it kind of going up and just rolling over, basically.
Awesome. Okay. All right. Well, there you go. We've added one parameter to look at on this. That's very cool. That's exactly what we're trying to do. Add some safety filters. That's what we're actually looking to do.
I mean, that was thinking on my feet.
I think we can actually nail this. Well, you see what you see. It doesn't matter how you see it, when you see it, as long as you see it.
Yeah. So let's look out for some more of these bars and see what rules that actually work.
All right. Well, that's going to be our daily chore. We'll look at one of these. You want to look at one today?
One today. Yeah. There you go. There you go.
Wrong mouse. We'll check this one when it breaks, right? And well, I'll try and trade this when it breaks. What else is ranging at the moment? Pound yen. No, yeah, it is. Yeah. Okay. So this can be all time frames too, guys. It doesn't need to be contained to one. Pick the range. So okay, there's a case in point right here, Ash. So if we've got a range insert shape.
Yes, is that lift T? It is a new method we're talking about. It's not it's nothing set in stone. We're just a new method we're talking about how we can trade. What do you call it, Jeff? Smash bar? Is it breakout bar? Smash bar?
That bar is, yes. I'm looking to call this method something a little bit different because we're trying to trade it both ways.
Okay, yeah.
So, okay, there's our little breakout bar there. Oh, sorry, there's our little breakout bar there. We would have been taken into that and we'd be just out of the money at the moment on this. So that did retrace. It would have hit a fib level for sure. Let's check that. So there to there, it's hit the 38.2 fib retracement level, and we would have been taken in on this bar, or maybe that bar, depends. Would have been that bar actually, probably.
Yeah, I think if it exceeds the 61.8% retracement, you don't do it. There's no order, so it's got to fail at least. That's got to be the last bastion. I think if it gets to 100%, then it's starting to look like a reversal completely. So I think the rule has to be 61.8 retracement, and that's it.
Well, we'll say we didn't get taken in on that bar. We'll say that went down before it went up, So we will be in on this bar. So we're still in that trade if that's the case.
So we short on this one, are we?
Yes, we're short.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll have a look at that tomorrow. So that's pound yen 4-hour chart. See how that pans out.
Pound
I
yen
don't
4-hour
expect there'll
chart.
be too much today.
You know.
Lewis, yes, thank you for that, mate. I did change a couple of things, and I'm now speaking into the microphone full time, which makes a big difference apparently, which is cool.
You decided to use the technology.
Yeah, look, isn't it amazing? I've only been talking to microphones for 40 bloody years and still haven't worked out how to use them.
Yeah.
I'm done, mate.
Okay, me too. Me too. Just to check,
quickly have a look, I suppose.
Is anybody in the FTSE trade? If nobody's in it, then we don't need to discuss it. But if anybody's in the FTSE trade, then I'll give you a quick rundown before I go.
I'll just quickly check Euro. That's kind of hanging around doing nothing. Euro pound is doing exactly the same. So I don't expect that we're going to see too much on either of those today.
Okay, cool. Zayden's in.
Maybe awesome. Tomorrow thing. Right, mate. What you got?
Okay, Zayden. So this is for you then, buddy. Now, now my situation is slightly different than yours, Zayden. You are in the money. I am still out of the money currently. But that's just the way that this is going. Now, I don't know what price you got, but that's great that you're in. You should have a stop down here. Now, this could be a really good trade. And, you know, the stops down here and entering before this bar is formed is absolutely fine. Because if you wait, then you might not get what you need. And effectively, all I've traded here is a false breakout. If this breakout ends up not being false, then it's going to come down, take us out, and go. But if this does end up being a false breakout, this entry should be really good. I don't see why it should come down, take you out, and then come back up again. I think if it starts to come down again, the likelihood is, it's not definite, but the likelihood is then we close and we go. So I think entering wherever along there here is a good entry. Now, you've got a few areas that you've got to be just a little bit concerned with, and this is one of them. Now, my personal thinking on this is if you can ride it out, if you can ride out the move, because what's more than likely to happen is any moves to the upside may well get taken back down again until we get a change in mood. So it could come down, and it might even come down and take you out. That you'll have to live with if you don't take profit. But if you're going to get a really good trade out of this, then really what you want is to hold and see if it comes and see if it breaks and then see if it goes, because this is another one that could turn out to be a really good long-term trade and a lot higher. And the reason I would encourage you to stay with it is that it makes your work a lot lighter if it does manage to hold this level. Because this, as I say, as I said before, it isn't an uptrend. You know, we're not in a downtrending market. This is still a daily trend to the upside, and there's every chance that that if that statement from Donald Trump and what's going on in Hong Kong just subsides a little bit, we could take these highs out and maybe get up to this point. My overall target is actually on a trend line on the weekly chart, which is up here. So it could be a tricky trade. It might even be that's maybe it's there as well. You could think about, which is the highs at that point. It depends how much you got on, but taking a little bit off the table, I think at the highs, that's what I wouldn't want to take anything off until I got there. And it's one of those that you just have to accept that you'll you may well lose. You may well lose and give up quite a bit of profit. But if you're really going to get a big hitter here, which could happen, then waiting for at least the original highs, which are around about 100 pips up, and then going beyond, I think is the way that I'd want to play it if this was my only long in the market. Now, I've got a load of longs, and some of them are in pretty bad positions, and some of them are in good positions. I've got one here as well. I've got one on the neckline. I've got one halfway up here, and I think I've got one at the high. So I'm looking for us to get through. So I'm looking to hold on to mine. So that's just a quick note of the way that that I would play it, and especially if you've only got one trade on, it's not a huge risk. And I think hanging on to see if you can get a real breakout, then that could be the way forward. 7 out of the last 9 years had a drop. What do you mean, period? Great stuff, buddy. I mean, that's just the way I'd play it. I'm not saying that's what you should do. That's the way I would do it. What do you mean by 7 out of the last 10 years during this period? You mean November, or the second week in November? Are we still on here? Oh yeah.
Yeah, mate.
From the 6th to the 7th of November. But it's the
tight,
11th.
Isn't it? we got to go backwards, Lewis.
Is that right, Lewis? Did you mean to put that 6th and 7th? So the one thing I would say is that you're absolutely right. In November, it does take a little bit of a dip. But then during the second week of November, it does actually start to pick up a little bit, which is another reason I wouldn't mind holding on. But between the 6th and the 7th, that would have been here to here, which is good. A little bit of a hangover, and then maybe we get a little bit of a boost. I don't know. Okay.
Actually, remind me next Sunday.
Yeah.
Good discussion. Seasonality.
Yes.
Which one do we listen to? If one says we should be bearish and the other says we should be bullish, what's our Bible?
When you say one says, you mean what?
Well, okay, let's say the MetaTrader platform has its own seasonality indicator, does it not? Right?
Yep.
We've also got people monitoring SeasonX, and
yep.
now we've got people monitoring Gary's.
Markets made clear.
Yes.
Yeah.
Interesting. I think it's an interesting topic.
Yes. Yeah, I think you're right. I think the quick answer to that is whichever has got the longer term data. I don't think I have got a long seasonal indicator on this. I think it's only about 5 or 7 years or something. I think, I was always told with seasonals you need at least 20 years.
Yeah. Never ever taken any notice of them, but I am now through what you have to say, because I know you're working on it. I'm quite happy to look at that. I
quite like them, mate. Do you know what's interesting is that the seasonal indicator or the seasonal bias can be a little bit misleading if you're not careful and if you get too married to it. I quite like it as an addition, but certainly not as a leader. I think it's it's not a lagging indication by any stretch. But the way it was explained to me the other day, which I thought was a brilliant way to explain it, but a little bit maybe a bit harsh. During the 60s and 70s, I think it was Kansas used to have a lot of chickens. I'm going to say Kansas, but I'm probably wrong about it. And and this guy was investing with this broker, and this broker every year he'd buy eggs. He'd trade eggs around about the summertime, and every year he'd make this investor money. And the investor said to him, "Look, how did you know that eggs were going to go up in this time? You always do the same thing. It's the only trade you make for me, and you always make money out of it." And he said, "What happens during the Kansas summer?" And he says, "Well, it gets very, very hot." And he says, "Yes, chickens do not like the hot. They don't lay eggs in the hot in extreme heat. They don't like it." And he said, "And if the reason I buy more eggs contracts some years is because if the temperature gets above 100 degrees, then the chickens die. So that means that the eggs are even more sparse. So that's why I always buy eggs around about the summertime." And that was basically this investor's first kind of introduction into seasonals. That's what a seasonal kind of event is. Obviously, sort of since then, the chicken trade isn't on anymore because they've got air conditioning now. But it was just
It's a perfectly sound analogy, isn't it? It really is. And I think with produce and If you look at climate change, for instance, I think there's a few opportunities around there, given that
Yes.
there's going to be, low production in a lot of areas as a result of, let's say, a hurricane or bushfires or
Yeah.
wildfires, as they call them
Yeah.
in the US. If you keep an eye on those sort of world events, I think that seasonality, and I don't put that into historic seasonality, I put that into current seasonality, right? So,
Well, do you know, this is the interesting thing for me, mate, and this is
yep,
where my seasonal analysis has slightly started to shift, and it was really off the back of the egg thing. I
yep,
started to think I like the seasonal indicator. I know with the pound, then I haven't looked, but I know that when you kind of you think about the economy, the time that the UK generally collects taxes is around January, and that means that the treasury has a boost and it can spend more money, which should have an effect on the currency. So that is something. The financial aspect is something. But what I find more interesting actually is the natural seasons, the natural sort of
hmm
affecting seasonality, and it started to make me think. Actually, I wonder whether commodities might be a better way to trade a seasonal index, rather than looking at currency. Why currencies do this, and why certain countries do that, because it's just a lot easier to read. If there's a drought in a certain part of America which grows a lot of soybean, then it's kind of easy what's going to go
not
with
rocket
the.
science, is it? No.
No, exactly. Maybe it happens every year. Maybe there's something a bit more brutal sometimes of the year. But I agree with you. When it comes down to global warming, that might even be, something that can be uh, kind of. I don't like to say it, but it can be
No,
taken advantage of.
I know I know why you're hesitating, because I feel exactly the same when war breaks out, or
Yes.
somebody has a famine and all the rest of it. How can we look to make profit out of that?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
jury's out on that for me as well, but
Yeah. But then I suppose
these things happen.
that's exactly. So people are profiting about it, but that's my new kind of thing about the seasonal indicator. I wonder whether looking at actual commodities could be the way forward with it. And when I look at the Market Made Clear website, he actually does give soy and gasoline and corn and copper and gold, and just he's just got a really good amount of commodities, and I think that could be an interesting trade.
Cool. I love the fact that we're exploring new avenues, because that's how you evolve into a far better trader, is by opening up your mind. If you've got a closed mind that says only my strategy works, then you're doomed.
Yeah,
You're not going to go too well.
yeah, yeah, totally
All right,
agree,
mate.
mate. Okay,
Lots of
brilliant
things to talk
stuff.
about as always.
Yep,
But I'm out of here.
great, me too. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your day. Hold on to those footsie trades, but you may well just make sure that you can square the circle that this is a pretty bad move to the downside. So there's a good chance that you'll lose. Good chance that you'll lose, but if it's a winner, it's a big one. So get your head straight. If your head's not straight, then walk away from your computer and go and get it right. Okay, well, until tomorrow, I guess we'll be back same trade time, same trade channel, 5 to 8.
5 to 8. What a great date that will be. Put it in your diary, guys. See you later.
See you guys. See you, Jeff.
See you, mate.